So the Rebbe discussed earlier that everything, whether it's the Anhoga Nisis or even the Anhoga Tivis, is still through the Avodah of a Yid. Lechatchila, the Rebbe explained that Hanoga Tivis, Rosh Hashanah, Breishis, Maise Breishis, that came ki Chofetz Chesed hu. That comes from Hashem. The uh, Avodah, the Nisis, the Chodesh ניסן, which is the Chiddush, that comes through the Avodah of a Yid. A Yid, through his Avodah Nisis, brings down the Avodah Nisis. But then the Rebbe went through to explain that everything in the world is through the Avodah of a Yid. Lechatchila, the world was created because Olu b'machshava, the Yid and the Eibishter knew and is going to get the tainug from the Yid, from what they're going to do. So when we do Avodah, we are actually mamshich both the Hanhoga Tivis and the Hanhoga Nisis. But the Rebbe says now, but there is a difference between the avodas. It's not the same avodah that brings down avodah tivis, the Hanhoga Tivis and Hanhoga Nisis. Avodah tivis brings down the normal avodah, that brings down Hanhoga Tivis. And when one works on a higher level, he brings down the Hanhoga Nisis, as the Rebbe will explain now. Elo shemikol makoim yesh hefresh bein ha'avodah shebishvil ha'hanhoga tivis, between the service to Hashem in order to get the natural conduct milmaila, v'ha'avodah, and the work that we have to do, shebot luya hanhoga nisis, on which it hinges this miraculous hanhoga. It's a different kind of avodah. The Rebbe is going to explain now. There's the simple level when you do the Torah mitzvahs on a simple level, then you get a simple reward, the natural reward. If you do the Torah on a higher, on a deeper level, when you learn Torah with Yigia, not just learning Torah, then you get the bracha also in a miraculous way. So, the Pasuk says, "Im b'chukoisai telechu, that's misvoisai tashmoiru v'asisa. If you go and follow my statutes and you keep my mitzvahs and you do them, v'asisa. So the Pasuk said, "V'nasati gishmeichem v'goimer," I will give the rain. The Eibishter will pay you back with the physicality. So there's two pshatim. There's the simple meaning, and then there is the deeper meaning. On the simple meaning, the reward is Hanhoga Tivis. On the deeper meaning of the Avodah, you get Hanhoga Nisis. This is Vapirush HaPoshut Kifi Shehu B'Torah Shebiksav. The simple meaning of the verse, the way it's written in the written Torah, without the interpretation of Torah Shabbat Peh. And we know, the Gemara says, Ein Mikra Yoytze Midei Pshutei. The Pasuk does not leave the simple meaning. Every Pasuk also can't take it out from its simple meaning. So what's the simple meaning of the Pasuk? Who? If you follow my statutes and you learn Torah, normally, literally, you study Torah. And you keep my mitzvahs. We're not talking about in any spectacular way, but you keep the mitzvahs. Koyi al kiyum hamitzvahs stam. This refers to just to do the mitzvahs. Be'oz gam haschar. V'nosati gishmeichem be'itom. So then the pasuk talks about the reward for doing Torah mitzvahs literally, simply. So then the reward is V'nasati kishmeichem be'itom, I'll give the rain in time. Ve'etz asoda yitin piriyoi, the tree in the field will give the fruit. Hu kipshutoi, it's literally. Hainu schar tivi. Then that's a natural reward. But ulmaylam is api hapirush b'terish b'alpeh. But the higher than this, based on the interpretation of the Torah Shabbat, Shabo mizgala mitis rotzen elyon. In the oral Torah, in the Torah Shabbat, you have the true rotzen elyon, the deeper level in the rotzen elyon. Torah Shabbat itself, you don't have yet the full depth, but with the explanation from Torah Shabbat, you have the true will of the Supreme, what Hashem really wants. Like written in Teres Kohanim, and Rashi brings this down. Now, what does it mean? That is the idea of effort in Torah. More than it's according to his nature and what he's used to. So we're talking about not just learning Torah, but learning Torah with effort more than your nature. And that leads to the mitzvahs are being done, not regular mitzvahs, but you do the mitzvahs behidur, with perfection. Bekivan shegodul Talmud shemevi lidei maisa. And since study is great because it leads you to action, meaning what you learn later on brings you to action. So since the learning is more than the nature, so it brings to Maisa Hainu. That means when you're learning, you're not just learning for intellectual exercise. You're learning because that the effort in Torah is in order to observe, to keep, and to fulfill. So then, when the Apostle said, you keep my mitzvahs, is not just mitzvahs. Not just to do mitzvahs. But to do the mitzvahs in the perfect way. So then the reward is in a miraculous way. Which is higher than nature. The reward is not simply giving you, but it's highness. What does it mean, the rain in time? So literally means in a timely way, but here it means Rashi brings down the Wednesday night and the Friday night, people are not on the street, so it's a comfortable time. So it's not just regular rain, but it comes in a very specific time. What is the meaning? The trees in the field will give the fruit. We're not talking about the regular fruit. We're talking about that also trees that do not normally have fruit, they too will produce fruit. So that's a reward in a miraculous way. And this is the meaning, HaChodesh hazeh lochem Resh Chodoshim, and also Rishon hu lochem l'chodshei hashana. So that this Chiddush is the Chiddush of Resh Chodesh, but also Chodshei Hashana. Sheklolu so inyan da Chodesh hazeh lochem. The general idea of HaChodesh hazeh lochem, which is when the Eibishter gave us Rosh Chodesh, the Nisan, Bochar b'Yaakov u'Banav, when he chose Yaakov u'Banav, Moire ala beidosam shel Yisrael b'koyach atzmai. So generally it speaks that the Yidden do their service with their own strength. It's not the natural, what comes down automatically, but it's something, the Chiddush lachem, that Yidden have to accomplish. That means the Chiddush lachem. But then you have two parts. We have El Shebezeh Gufa Yeshno Beizeh Fanei Avodah, but within your avodah, there is two ways of avodah. Shebehem Tluyim Beizeh Fanei HaNhoga Ba'olam. based on that avodah hinge the two types of conduct in the world. Hanhoga nisis, you have the miraculous in Yonah Shel Rosh Chodesh Nisan. That is Rosh Chodesh Nisan. Chodesh Elachem is Rosh Chodashim, Rosh Chodesh Nisan. Rosh Chodesh of Geula. That's the Chodesh of Geula, redemption. And also Banhoga Tivis in Yonim Shel Chodesh Hashanah. It's Rosh Chodashim, and it's also Chodesh Hashanah. Shoshana Moira al Anhoga Tivis. Shona points to the natural conduct, and the Chodesh Hashanah. So Shona is the natural, and the Chodesh Hashanah Moira al Zeh Shanhoga Hativis Tluya B'Avidosom Shel Yisrael. That the Hanhoga Tivis also hinges on the Chodesh Hashanah, the Chodesh of the Shana, that also the Shana needs, that Chodesh needs the work of the Yid. HaChodesh Hazeh the Chodesh Hazeh impacts also Chodesh Hashanah, that the Shana, the Tivisdike, the natural, should also be in a way of avodah, the avodah of the Yid in both in there. So the Rebbe says, "Loisu v'lekasher zei mamavur v'dibra maschil v'har Sinai oshon tov reish chof ches." This is a maimer of the Rebbe Maharash. Over there, he says in the maimer, "V'har Sinai oshon." What is Har Sinai Oshon? That's a mountain. That's on the Matan Torah. The mountain smoked up. What does it mean? That's the impact that the mountain had. He said over there, the word Oshon is Olam Shona Nefesh. The Har Sinai impacted all three: the Olam, the Shona, and the Nefesh. So this is the Lashon Oshon. Rosh Tevis Olam Shona Nefesh. Oshon, smoke, has the abbreviation Olam Shona Nefesh, which means that the Mount Sinai, in all areas, the world, the time, and the soul. But Rabbeinu Az Murzatzal, and our teacher, my Zedi, my father's, my made of the Alter Rebbe Pirush, Sheyeshno Sheshona Hem Yud Beis Rosh Chodesh. Shona is the 12 Rosh Chodesh. The year has 12 Rosh Chodesh. And in Sefer Yitzira, there's the concept, Hem Yud Beis Gevulei Alachsonim Shel Hamidus. The 12 boundaries that are in an alachson, in a diagonal of the Midas. Over there in the Kabbalah, if you have the 6 Midas, which is Chesed, Gvura, Tiferes, that's how you saw it. If you put them into a box, like you have the 4 corners and the top and the bottom, so by they touch each other at 12 angles, because each of the 4 sides touch both the top and the bottom, and 4 places on the top and 4 places on the bottom, so that's 8. And then the 2, they touch each other in 4 places, so it's together 12. But anyways, that's a idea in the Kabbalah about a level of the midos of Atzilus, as it's not the midah itself, it's only the level where they touch. It's a level of alachsonim shalamidos, as he will explain. As it's written at length, Mocher Chodesh. Umistame Shoma came Magid Zatzal. This is an unusual lashon. The Rebbe says in the Orah. Probably the Alter Rebbe heard this from the Magid, that this is the idea of Shona. So the world of Shona means the 12 alachsa. The Olam and the world represents the B'chinas Midas B'atzim. That's the Midas itself. So in Atzilus you have the Midas. Those That's called olam. And the alachsin is the expansion of the midas. That's olam is the midas be'etzem. B'hainu. Why are midas called olam? What's the connection? Because every day of the week the Eibishter created with one of the midas. So the olam is midas. Olam he bechinas midas be'etzem. They're the midas. B'hainu al shem. This is why kiomarti olam chesed yiboneh. When I said to be a world, it would be with chesed, which means that chesed builds the world. Uksiv zecheira chamecha v'chasedecha ki ma'olam heima. Remember, chamecha chasedecha, they are ma'olam. Shebechinas ha'olam heim bechinas hamidas. So the level of olam is midas. Whatever, that's in short, alachsin is a lower level of midas. Then you have ma'olam heima, the level of midas themselves. Shebechinas ha'olam heim bechinas hamidas. V'nefesh yichayus ha'olam. And nefesh, that's the life of the world. V'nimtzo mefarish. So it turns out that he explains, that's what says the Maimer over there. Shebechinas nefesh gavoya mekulam, that the level of nefesh is higher than everything. Ad kal l'shona. That's the language in the Maimer that Ashon is Rosh Tevis Olam Shono Nefesh. Ba'inyan bazeh. So what's the idea here? Shegam Shono Kshurim Rosh Chodesh. So because we're saying the Shana is the 12 Rosh Chodesh, the 12 months, that means that the Shana itself is made up from Rosh Chodesh. It has 12 months. Shezehu inyan, this idea, the Yud Beis Rosh Chodoshim Shebeshana, that's the idea of 12 Rosh Chodoshim in the year. That means that the Rosh Chodesh is connected to Shana. Ella, the connection of Rosh Chodesh with Shana, Shem Yud Beis Givulei Alachsin Shel Hamidus. They're only the 12 boundaries of the diagonal of the Midas. Hainu, She'ein Zeh B'chinas Hamidus K'moi She'ein B'mkoimom. It's not the Midas as they are in their place. Elo K'moi She'ein B'givulei Alachsin, that is as they come down in the boundaries of the diagonal. What does that mean in Sfiras? V'inyonom b'Sfiras B'chinas HaMalchus. That's in the Sfiras, that's the level of Malchus. Ragleho Yerdes, Malchus Ragleho descends. Bibya. So that's called that it's coming down in the Gevulei Alachsen, that it's coming down into Malchus, which goes down to Bia. So basically, that the Chiddush that we experience, Yud Beis Chodesh, comes down not in the Midas itself, but in Shana, in the Yud Beis in the Alachsen. That's the Chiddush into the Shana. V'gam, so in Malchus, the way it comes down in Bia, v'gam k'moishu batzilus, u'bebchines shaychus le'mas Bia. Even the way the Midas are in Atzilus, the Gevulei Alachsen are in Atzilus, they still have a connection to Bia. Shezehu HaShoresh Danhogativis, which is the root of the natural conduct, is in Atzilus, in the Gevulei Alachsen. So you have it in the lowest level, the Yud Beis, in the Gevulei Alachsen. Higher than that, B'chinas Olam, B'chinas Midas Be'etzem. Then in the level of the Midas Be'etzem. So that's the Rampin, that's the Midas itself. Shalamayla Me'olam is B'yah, which is higher than the world of B'yah. Shezehu HaShoresh L'Hanoganisis, which is the root for the miraculous Hanoga. So basically, the Hanoga TVs that comes down into the world comes from Malchus. That comes from the Gevulei Alachsen. The Gevulei Alachsen come down to Malchus. Malchus comes down to Bia. Then Hogenisis comes from Zah, comes from the level of Olam. K'yomarti Olam Chesed Yibon. Ulamaylam is there, and then you get even a higher level than that Hogenisis. You get Bechinas Nefesh, you get Sfiras Habina. That's the level of Bina. Chayis Ha'olam. That is the Nefesh, the Chayis of the world. Ubemela Gam HaChayis the Shona, and that becomes also the vitality of the Shona. Sheroimez Al Avedosam Shel Yisrael. The energy of Shona, which is the Avedus of the Yidden Shabbat Luyim, Beis Eifane and Hogad and Ezveteva. Those are the two Avedus hinges of the Nez V'Teva. So that's the Chayis of the world, which brings down both on the level of Bina, which later brings down the Shoirish and the Chayis of the world, both from Zoh and Malchus. So you have, he touches it in with the Olam Shona Nefesh to be mamshechit into Shona, into the Gevulei Alachsan, the Yud Beis Chodoshim, into later on into the Olam, into the Midah, from the Midas and from the Gevulei Alachsan, and then higher even from the level of Bina. Okay, it's Kabbalic oasis, but it all fits into what he was saying. Ches v'yesh loymar. It's interesting. This piece over here, the Rebbe added. At that particular Shabbos, they learned 3 parshas. They learned Parshas Vayikra, and they also learned the parsha was Shabbos HaChodsh. HaChodsh Azalochem was the Shabbos, but they also read of Rosh Chodshechem, which is the Kriyas HaTorah for Rosh Chodesh. The Rebbe wants to say that these 3 madreges we were discussing now, the Hamshocha from the level of Malchus, the Gevulei Alachsan, which is the level from the Yud Beis Rosh Chodesh. The 12 is the Gevulei Alachsan. 12, the number 12 is the Gevulei Alachsan. That's how we get the number of 12 from the Midos. It's not the Midos itself. And the level of which is Malchus, either because Malchus goes down or even a way it's in Atzilus, it's connected to Biyah. And then you have also the second level, the level of Olam, which is the level of Midas itself, and then you have the level of Nefesh, which is Oshan, which is level of Nefesh, which is the level of Bina. These are all connected with the 3 different Torahs that we read in that Shabbos. Is the Shabbos. This is hinted in the 3 readings of this Shabbos, which first of all we have the Parshas Vayikra. The Parshas Vayikra is as Cholas Torahs Kahanim. We begin Chumash Vayikra, which is the beginning, the Torah, the teaching of the Kahanim. Who's the teaching of Kahanim? The Koyal Bnei Yisrael. The Kahanim are the Yidden, because Shaleim Nemar, because all Yidden are Kohanim. V'alatem tiu li mamleches Kohanim. You should be Mamleches Kohanim. So that is the level of Bechinas Nefesh, the level of Bina. And then you have the second Kriyas HaTorah, Parshas HaChodsh, HaChodsh Azalochem, Hakriya, the Parshas HaChodsh. So this is Tzivui de Rosh Chodesh b'Torah. That is the command of Rosh Chodesh in the Torah. So that's a Hamshocha. But this is, most years, it's not really also the Rosh Chodesh, because Parshas HaChodesh is the Shabbos before Rosh Chodesh. Avol b'roiv hashonim ein b'yom the Rosh Chodesh ba'olam. It's not on the Rosh Chodesh day in the world. B'chinas olam, shei b'chinas midos be'etzem, which is, but that is the level of olam, which is the b'chinas midos be'etzem. The Hamshochev, the Torah reading, is from the level of the Midas Be'etzem, which is the Chiddush. Zo Shalamayla Midas Libya. That's the level of Zeir Ampin, which is higher than the Yirid Libya, which is the Hamshochanisis, Hanoganisis. And then finally you have a Rosh Chodshechem, Akrid Rosh Chodesh, the Rosh Chodesh Ba'olam, to bring it down into the world, Bechinas Shona, into the level of Shona, Shem Yud Beis Chodoshim. That's the 12 Chodoshim, the Rosh Chodshechem, Malchus Sheragleho Yirdis Libya, Malchus whose feet go down to Biyah, to come down to the lower level. So Vapi Hanal, so based on the above, Ubrosh Chodshechem Meira Al Anhoga Tivis Malchus, the Rosh Chodoshim goes on the natural, the level of Malchus. HaChodesh Hazeh Meira Al Anhoga Nisis Zo, that's on the miraculous conduct level of Zerampin. Vakriya the Teres Kohanim, the reading of Teres Kohanim, Vayikra El Moshe, says he called to Moshe. V'lo nemar mihu hakoyed. It doesn't say Vayikra Hashem El Moshe, meaning that's a level of Vayikra, higher level. The Chada Pirushim hu b'chinas hamakif. One of the Pirushim is the level of makif. Up to now we were talking about Bina, but here it's a level of makif, Keser, which is Gam makif de Bina, which is not just Bina, but it's also makif of Bina. Chuppah al choson v'kala. That's the chuppah over the choson kala, because I guess the choson is zo and malchus. The choson is zo and the kala is malchus, and that's zun biyachat. That is zo and nukva together, which is olam hacherus, a world of freedom, meaning higher than nisis and higher than teva, a world of total freedom. Okay, the end over here is a little bit, the Kabbalic, but this is general idea is understood over here. Okay, let's leave it over here, and we'll be mamshech.
Thank you very much. Have a good day. Bye-bye.